All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we're going to be in the 147-pound division where Brian Norman Jr. exposes Devin the Dream Haney for being a Timu or knockoff Floyd Mayweather Jr. in hilarious fashion. But also, it points to some things about Devin Haney that may be a concern for the actual fight. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon. And in this video, we're going to be talking about Devin Haney and Brian Norman Jr. and this fight that these guys have coming up shortly. And some reaction and give a reaction to what Brian Norman had said about Devin Haney in their interview. Very funny stuff, but at the same time, if you think about it, very true stuff. And it's going to be very interesting to see how this fight plays out based off what Brian Norman Jr. said. Now, before I get into the details, let me welcome you back to the channel. If you are new to the channel, please accept my invitation to hit the subscribe button and hit the bell icon so you can be notified of when we release more videos. And if you're a longtime subscriber and supporter of the channel, thank you guys so much for what you do. It really makes a huge difference to the channel. And thank you to everybody that supports in the super thanks, because $1 in the super thanks is like giving 100 views to a YouTube content creator. $10 is like 1,000 views. So thank you guys so much for the people that do that and tip your hat for the work. But let's get into this, because Brian Norman Jr. and Devin Haney were talking to one another in a face-off across the table with one another. And Devin Haney was playing, they're going back with this word game, this word fight, right? One person says something, the other person comes back with something that sounds more witty, right? All that back and forth talk that goes on. In the midst of it, Devin Haney says something to the effect of, if you, something akin to, if you reach, I teach, right? A rhyme that he used in order to talk about what he was gonna do. But basically, he's stealing the content of Floyd Mayweather Jr. And he's sounding just like Floyd Mayweather Jr. when he's talking to Brian Norman Jr. So Brian Norman Jr. says, well, stop with all of that. Man, you are not Floyd Mayweather Jr. Get your own style, man. Get your own life, bro. Stop trying to copy off Floyd Mayweather Jr. Man, you already, something to the effect of, man, you already 28 years old and you still acting like your childhood hero. Man, it's time to stop, right? So I thought, yeah, obviously that's funny. And obviously, Brian Norman Jr. is a witty guy, and he's winning the war of words against Devin Haney. And yeah, Devin Haney, Bill Haney, they got the same old spiel that they kick 1,000 times, man. They actually used to have like a Boudini Brown type of character in the corner doing all kind of over the top rapping and all of that stuff. He used to be in their crew, pretty much just copying off of Boudini Brown and Muhammad Ali, right? So this guy was kind of playing that role. If you look at how Devin Haney fights in the ring, he fights like Floyd Mayweather Jr. Shoulder rolls, very defensively oriented, right? Whole idea that, skills pay the bills. I'm more skilled if I got to go 12 rounds and all of that stuff, right? I don't have a problem with that, but I do agree that at a certain point in time, you have to be able to branch out beyond that and develop your own character. It just seems to me that Bill Haney and Devin Haney, everything about them is planned. Everything about them is, it's just old cliche garbage that keeps getting pushed onto people over and over again. The different types of stunts, the insults, the calling people a duck and saying you're the only person, all of that carnival show Bob stuff that was around Ali, that was around Floyd Mayweather. They do all of that stuff. But the question is, when is he going to break out and start to show his own personality, start to be his own self, right? And I just don't know whether or not that's going to happen with Brian Norman Jr., man. But, and the reason that I think that he needs to do it, though, is because, like if you look at, I don't think that it is a bad thing to pattern yourself off of people that you look up to. And in fact, when you're young, the some of the smartest things that you can do is pick somebody that is a good role model, right? Like the role of father, the role of boxer, the role of teacher, the role of whatever. And you find somebody that you can model your behavior after theirs. So you have guys like Michael Jackson and Prince that were very, very well known, that they looked up to, mimicked and imitated James Brown. And then over time, they eventually developed their own style and shined on their own. I just don't see where Devin Haney is headed in that direction as long as he keeps his daddy in the corner with him. And his daddy's not a real trainer. And, there's a lot of rumors out there about how Devin Haney got some opportunities and got some wins in the early part of his career where, that kid might have had some losses if his pops wasn't helping him out, right? At least that's what they say. So, now he's looking at Brian Norman Jr., and I'm sure Brian Norman Jr. does pattern himself off Brian Norman Sr. But at the same time, he's not. Brian Norman Sr. is not a world-class fighter. He was not a world-renowned fighter, right? He's somebody Brian Norman Jr. looked up to because he's in the gym training with him all the time. Just kind of like how Floyd Mayweather looked up to his father when he was training and wound up in a lot of ways having the same basic style as Floyd Mayweather Sr. I just hope that, Brian Norman Jr. puts on a good fight, that that the lights aren't too bright for him, because this is a big, it's a big step up thing for him. But, if you have to figure out, who's the most independent guy, who's the person that you don't really know what you're going to get out of him, it would be Brian Norman Jr. But you also don't know how he's going to approach the fight with Devin Haney, because, Brian Norman Jr. is not one of these cookie cutter fighters. Well, somebody had talked to me about, shout out to Phoenix the Assassin, saying, that sometimes, you can teach the same people the same thing over and over, but really, there's a degree of talent in it that will take over. And you can see the same people running the same plays, using the same techniques, using the same strategies, but they just don't have the underlying the underlying talent to really take advantage of the techniques that they have. But on the other hand, you have some people that are just extraordinarily athletic, who are extremely talented, and who really can do some things that just naturally come to them in the midst of doing the things that they're taught to do, which are fundamental. Probably the most perfect example of that is Muhammad Ali. And because Muhammad Ali is pretty much just riding off natural talent and obviously technique, but not things that were just, muscle memory, right? The reason that he was able to fight so well is because he had a concentration level that was through the roof, right? His eyes were incredible, and he was able to use those to get over. But those are things that he himself possessed. So it's just going to be interesting to see if anything like that comes out of Devin in this fight with Brian Norman Jr. I'm more interested in that than the back and forth kind of clowning each other stuff. But anyway, that's my take on the matter. Please let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Deuces.